Welcome back to another episode of the Big J Little J Show. In today's episode, we will be previewing Duke at Clemson as both teams are coming off a bye week. If you are new here, I'm your host, the Little J. I'm J-Man's Takes on Twitter. With me, as always, is Connor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated, who is the Big J in this equation. And before we get started, a couple words from our sponsor. Let me tell you guys about a website, a soon-to-be app that my mom and stepdad created and they worked on for the last few years. It's now up and running. It's called Legacy Safe. Legacy Safe is a website where it is a secure cloud-based platform for individuals, couples, families, and tailored for organizing personal account information, legal documents, assets, and much more. It is designed to provide individuals with reassurance that their affairs will be managed effectively once they have passed and efficiently. Again, the website is legacysafe.info, not .com. So that is legacysafe.info, not .com. Another sponsor for us. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in North Carolina, whether you're moving across town or across the state? Jacob Mann with eXp Realty is here to help make your real estate journey smooth, strategic, and stress-free. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, he knows North Carolina and how to get results. Connect with my brother Jacob today at 336-266-9088 or on Instagram at the.real.estate.man. And that's with two N's. And let's make your next move, the best one yet. All right, Connor. Now that we paid our bills here, Duke opens as a 3.5-point underdog against Clemson, over-under being 55.5. You were at Manny Diaz's press conference today. Any injury news from Manny Diaz, specifically one to Terry Moore?
Yeah, I knew where you're going with that. It still does not look like Terry Moore is going to be ready for this game. So this is kind of what's the word I'm looking? Not ground zero, but like the deadline was 0, and now it's if he wants, Terry Moore can play in the last 4 regular season games and whatever postseason Duke has, and retain a season of eligibility. Whether he uses it or not, I mean, if he comes back and has a great 4 games plus a bowl or whatever, I would say it's still a chance that he goes to the NFL. He was that good last year. He was that talented of a prospect and a player, but that's a bridge we'll cross later. This game at Clemson, it doesn't look like Terry Moore is going to be able to play. We'll see with the injury report again on Thursday night. Those come out at 8. Maybe there's a sliver of hope that he appears in a non-listing of out, but right now it doesn't look like he's going to be back.
That's just fantastic news to hear, Connor. What about the linebacker?
Sometimes I feel like the Grim Reaper. Like the story I just put up on Duke was how different John Shire talking about Malik Brown was compared to the exhibition against UCF and then after the Tennessee exhibition. So I deliver good news sometimes, but I also have to deliver the bad news.
What about the linebacker front? Is there any other updates with, like, I know Kendall Johnson, Trey Freeman played. Trey Freeman, did he get banged up at Georgia Tech, or was that, versus Georgia Tech? I think that was at the end of that game. He didn't?
Maybe.
I swear he did, where he, like, limped off. I think there was a sequence, so I'm curious to know if he's going to play at Clemson with his shoulder. Was there anything of note about what Duke focused on from the bye week to prepare for Clemson?
The Clemson specific stuff, the thing that's most interesting right now is which quarterback Duke prepares for, because Clemson, like Duke, was off last week, and the week before they lost a home game to SMU, and it was the first game since 2014 that a Clemson quarterback missed a game because of an injury. So they did not have Cade Klubnik against SMU. Christopher Vizina, I think is how you pronounce it.
That's what I was going to go with, so I'm glad you went first with that.
You're welcome. And if I screwed it up, then oh well. He threw for 300-plus yards, had 3 touchdowns. I mean, they were down early, so there's ways of talking about how quarterbacks rack up yards and touchdowns, and I think when you play from behind the entire game, it's going to be a little easier to put up numbers like that. But based on him being at Clemson, he's probably just a little bit talented. So Duke has to prepare for both scenarios and pretty much have to prepare for Cade Klubnik to play. And then if he doesn't, you adjust. It was an ankle sprain that knocked him out. It's not like he had a torn ligament or anything that required surgery or anything like that. It's just an ankle that kept him out against SMU. And so that's really the focus. I've got to do my research better on this, but like, I know Bryant Wesco is their best wide receiver. He went out with a scary looking neck injury. I even think we were coming back into the press box from the Duke post game on that Saturday, and when we came off the elevator, we saw like, oh crap, Bryant Wesco's down, and it looks really scary. So I would guess that he's not available for this game. Still have good receivers at Clemson, though. It's Antonio Williams and TJ Moore are both really dangerous, and when they get the ball in their hands, they can go a long way after like one or two missed tackles. So
yeah, they TJ Moore had 5 catches for 124, Antonio Williams had 6 for 54. But yeah, Bryant Wesco, I agree. I'd be shocked. I'd be surprised if he does play against Duke because of the injury that he had. And honestly, Clemson's struggles is just the run game. I mean, they had 35 rushing yards on 30 rushing attempts against SMU in the loss. And to your point, like Vizina did put up good numbers, but they're playing from behind. And if Clemson fans are listening to this, there's no shade because I'm a Duke football fan, and Darian Mensah leads the ACC in passing yards because the Tulane game he was always behind, the Georgia Tech game he was always behind, the Illinois game he was always behind. So he racked up a lot of his, not a lot, but most of his sometimes through playing from behind, where Duke couldn't establish a run because they were down so early. So it's no slight. It's just kind of what Duke's done this year in their losses. But yeah, the run game.
It's the nature of the position. Like I think Darian has 4 300-yard games, and the only one that Duke has won was the Elon game.
That's crazy.
They're 0-3 when he throws for 300 plus against an FBS team, and they're 3-0 when he throws for under 300 against an FBS team. Because the 3-game winning streak against the ACC schools, he had under 300 in all 3.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and Clemson, when they have established the run, it's been a couple games this year with Adam Randall, who was a wide receiver, now is converted to running back. And, he had 10 for 29 against SMU, 10 for 36 against Boston College, 8 for 30 against UNC. And that's just kind of what he is. But then you see the Syracuse game, though it was a loss, he had 16 carries for 130. Like that was just shy out of a cannon that game. And when they played Troy at home in a 27-16 win, he had 21 for 112 with a touchdown. So he still has wide receiver tendencies. Like they use him as wide receiver. He has 24 catches on the year for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he still goes out for passes. It's just the run game for Clemson's been so inefficient this season that is the one thing that Duke has done pretty well at, is stopping a running back running. It's been the quarterback running that has hurt Duke this season. And I don't think Vizina is that type of guy. If Cade Klubnik does play, though he has an ankle sprain, something that you look out for if he was healthy, of him tucking and running, because his legs when healthy are dangerous.
The other thing you got to think about when you're dealing with quarterback injuries and you're talking about quarterback run is if Klubnik either doesn't play against Duke or is on a bum ankle, you're not looking to have the backup be that much of a runner, because then if the backup gets knocked out, you're either putting in a gimpy Cade Klubnik or you're putting in the third string guy. Yeah, that's always something to think about with quarterback run. Like everybody wants to quarterback run when they know who their backup is. Georgia Tech has no problem running Haynes King because A, that's who Haynes King is, and B, Aaron Philo is really good, and Aaron Philo is going to have the keys to the program next year for Georgia Tech. So yes, Georgia Tech would suffer if Haynes King gets knocked out of a game, but they feel good about what they have behind him. When you're already down one QB, you might be down a second QB if he gets knocked out. That takes QB runs out of the game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Clemson has done decently well this year is stopping the run. I know against SMU they had like 130 yards rushing and average 5 yards a carry, but they are, I think, they're fourth. Hold on, where's that? I had it right here. They are fifth in stopping the run, 110 yards per game. They're 12th in the ACC. These are ACC rankings, by the way. Fifth in stopping the run at 110 yards per game, and they're 12th in rushing yards per game with 116. So they're not good at running the ball, but they are pretty good at stopping the run, albeit SMU did run the ball successfully against them. Clemson's defense, though, like as much as the offense has had their inefficiencies, defense is fourth in defensive scoring in the ACC, 21 points per game. So, that is a strength for them. They struggled against SMU with giving up tackles for a loss and sacks. I think SMU had 8.5 tackles for a loss and 4 sacks. And with Duke having VJ Anthony, who leads the ACC in sacks, Wesley Williams, we know he's capable, and Duke loves blitzing and wrecking havoc. And if it's a backup quarterback, Duke's already done that against Syracuse, where it made him look like he was seeing ghost out there, to where Duke could possibly get home against Clemson and really make it ugly for them.
Yeah, I think that's the game plan. Whoever's in there at quarterback for Clemson. I mean, it's kind of something where we are a week away from opening night for college basketball. Duke has to be Duke. They want to be able to stop the run. They want to get you in third and long situations, and then they want to rush and they want to put a package on the field with 2 elite edge rushers in VJ and Wes Williams, and then put Aaron Hall in the middle and have him plug everything up and get home if he's one-on-one against the center. And then they want to bring pressure from the outside, whether it's a Chandler Rivers blitz from the nickel or some safety coming down, or if it's a Elliott Shopper or Luke Mergott spying and coming on kind of a delayed blitz. That's really the name of the game for Duke.
Yeah, and I was going to say what goes to Duke's advantage is Bryant Westcott being banged up. I know obviously he's injured, but that eliminates a key factor if he doesn't play with Duke's young secondary. Obviously, what Chandler Rivers can do on his side of the field, but teams have had success against Kamari Robinson's youth and Deshaun Stone trying to play coverage as a safety, to where that eliminates one factor. Now, I say that, but we just talked about the other 2 guys. TJ Moore is really talented. Antonio Williams really talented. They can have big games. And so, though there's no Wesco, I would bet that Clemson tries to get them going in short passes, to where that opens up a run game as well, with, again, Adam Randall coming out of the backfield and being a receiver, since that was his primary position last season.
I would also say this is one of the things I'll put my hand up. I thought Clemson was winning the ACC going away this year, and I thought they were a national championship contender. And part of me thinking that was I thought every place on their offense was fine with returners except running back and tight end. And I figured they'd be fine there because even as they dipped a little bit, it's not like they've been bad the last 5 years, but they haven't been national championship good the last 5 years. Those positions were still positions of strength. Like, it still had Phil Maffa, Will Shipley, and Travis Etienne. And they still had the tight ends last year. The names escape me. Here, I got to pull it up.
Yeah, I mean, the tight end that they added this year, Connor, you're not talking about as X factor in Shefflin. 1 catch for -1 yard. They do try and get him to post up at the goal line, and I might have to sprinkle anytime touchdown in Shefflin, because I'll be damned if I just shit on him on the podcast. He's going to have 1 catch for 3 yards, and it's a touchdown on a fade route. So
you might be able to pay the bills with that one.
I think it's worth some pizza money to throw it out to a 6'8" guy going against Duke's 5'9", 5'10" DB on a jump ball.
Jake Brenningstool was their tight end the last couple of years. He was, for my money, he was one of the most underrated players in the ACC. But he leaves, and Christian Bettencourt is a freshman. I don't know. The website I'm using doesn't have redshirt in here, so I'm guessing he's a redshirt freshman. With 11 catches for 119 and 2 touchdowns this year. That's a catch and a half a game. they're not using the tight end in the ways that I would have thought they would, just based on how strong that position had been in years past.
Yeah, and one knock on Dabo that has been well known is about his lack of accepting transfers. But I'll give him credit because I thought he did a good job in the portal with the guys that he got. I mean, he got Will Helt from Purdue, who was their best defensive player, and he leads the team in sacks. So I think where they are missing, where they're missing is just Cade Klubnik's career has just kind of been up and down. Like, I just think Cade Klubnik's not an elite quarterback. I think people really got caught up in, I think it was his performance against SMU, or maybe it was their first round game in the playoff where he played well, but he did not play well consistently last year as a whole through the season. And I think that's just what's gotten Clemson in trouble is the amount of throws he's missed. I mean, when Duke upset Clemson in Durham a couple years ago, he missed a lot of easy throws, a lot of air mails. I mean, the first possession, I remember he air mailed a guy on a post route by about 10 yards, and Duke's
Jeremiah Lewis should have had the pick and didn't.
It hit Jeremiah Lewis right in the stomach, and he missed it. And I'm just like, this guy is air mailing everything. And I thought, freshman, he could learn to be better. That's just kind of what he is. He's a tough runner, but he's not a great thrower.
See, I think he's talented enough to win big in college football. Maybe not win a national championship, but get to he's obviously good enough to win the ACC because he did it last year. I think they have a Garrett Riley problem. I think their offense has been an issue for now going on 3 years or 2.5 of it. And I think they threw the bank at a hot coordinator who didn't necessarily have the track record that should, his hire, when they made that hire, it was like they won the national championship 12 months before they played it. To me, that hire had so much more sizzle than substance, and I'll victory lap being right, even though they've still won a whole lot more games than they've lost with him as their OC. Yeah,
I mean, their offense has been bad for 3 straight season openers. 7 points against Duke, and obviously the turnovers inside the 5-yard line had something to do with that. And then last year, I mean, it was 34-3 against Georgia. They couldn't get anything going. And then this year, a loss 17-10 to LSU, who fired Brian Kelly last night. And so they just are always so slow coming out of the gates with Garrett Riley's offense for whatever reason. You could have said against Duke, hey, first year, trying to get the offense, you're just behind. But they looked overmatched from the jump against Georgia last year in the season opener, and then against LSU, just left a lot to be desired for a Clemson team that had, playoff potential coming into the season, playoff hype coming into the season.
Yeah.
Klubnik, I'm looking at Klubnik's stats. I said that to me last year, I didn't think he was that great. Like, if you look statistically, I mean, he 36 touchdowns to 6 picks is really good. But I really think the Texas game, he was 26 of 43, 336, and 3 touchdowns. And then the SMU game, 4 passing touchdowns for 262. But he just, there's other games where Virginia Tech last year was 16 to 34. Louisville in a loss, 33 to 56 for 228. Those are what I think about Cade Klubnik is those type of games. And it's almost like for Duke's version, he is the LeBron James of Thomas Sirks. He's the LeBron James.
What are we doing here?
But yeah, look, him being out though, if he is out, is a big deal. And I wonder if you think the line is the Vegas line at 3.5 is Clemson playing with the backup quarterback or Cade Klubnik possibly playing?
It's a good question.
Because I mean that's what I'm having trouble with, because what would the line be? What would the line I assume is playing with the backup quarterback. I think this is more of Vegas doesn't trust Duke because they put him as a 3.5 point favorite against Georgia Tech. They weren't close. Against Illinois, they were 3.5-point underdogs. They didn't cover. And then Tulane was basically like a pick 'em. It would go from Duke 2-point favorite, Tulane 2-point favorite, and then Duke didn't cover in that either. So I think it's more of Vegas, like Duke has to prove it going on the road against hostile environment, even with the backup quarterback. Because I think if Klubnik plays, I think it's 6.5, 7.
See, this is where to play devil's advocate a little bit. What reason would Vegas have to trust Clemson?
Because they've beaten the dog shit out of bad teams.
Is Duke a bad team, or is Duke a mediocre to good team that
Duke is
turn things around if they stop shooting themselves in the foot?
I mean, we talked about that last week where you can't say that and rely on that. I'm trying to go to their schedule. What I'm saying is, though,
Clemson has 3 wins. One of them is against a Troy team that's 6-2, but Troy was up 16-0, and Clemson scored the last 27 points. And Clemson's other 2 wins are against 2 of the 3 winless, or not winless, but winless in ACC play. There's 3 teams that are winless in the ACC, and it's Florida State and then Carolina and BC.
I would put Duke. What I mean is, like, I think Clemson really lays it on teams that are. I mean, those teams are bad, like the UNC and Boston College, but underwhelming, I guess. Like I can't decide if Duke is living up to expectations. They're not living up to expectations, but I don't know if we talked about it last week where I just don't know if this Duke team and even last year is going to handle adversity. Like, can they handle adversity well? I think pressure gets to them and they combust, and you're going into a place that it's going to test you with, though Clemson's 3-4 and 2-3 in the ACC, that is still Clemson. And can you handle that pressure of being on the road in the ACC hostile environment for a team that's hungry to beat you because you embarrassed them on national television 2 years ago? And I think Duke has all the pressure in this matchup, though Duke is the underdog, because Clemson's just kind of playing with house money. Dabo is just going to somehow turn into little Clemson against this high-powered offensive Duke. And I don't know. Manny Diaz versus Dabo Swinney, I lean Dabo. At the end of the day, Duke's won a national championship, and he gets his guys ready to play in big games. I mean, last year Clemson was underwhelming until they weren't at the end of the season. And, I mean, this season's kind of, forgone with what their record is. But I wouldn't be surprised they finish like 8-4 somehow because Dabo just gets them off the doormat.
So my take is on the subject of whether Duke is good or not, or what Duke is. I mean, I've been on this kick of telling you we got a 20-game sample size. I've been on you're 7 games into a 12-game season. Like this November is going to make or break Duke's season.
Yeah,
Duke is still right here with 1 ACC loss. There's such a cluster at the top of this league. I have serious skepticism that Georgia Tech is going to finish the regular season undefeated.
Yeah.
I just look at the way Haynes King plays and how banged up he's going to be. I'm going to be skeptical of whether Tony Elliott is a good coach until he's in Charlotte at this point. And Duke has a home game against Virginia. So it's still like it's on the table for Duke to still have the type of season that they want to have. The biggest if in the room is if they stop shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't answer your question because I got sidetracked talking, but to answer your question, I don't know if Duke is a good team. I don't, because they're 4-3 and their wins are Elon, NC State, who can't guard anything. They are just hilariously bad. A backup quarterback against Syracuse, who was abysmal. And then Cal, who, again, their win-loss total was like 4.5 coming into the season. And Cal should have beaten UNC more than I thought they did, and they almost lost to UNC. And UNC's looked decent the last 2 weeks against Cal, and UVA almost pulling off an upset that would have really hurt Duke's chances of going to Charlotte, because you want Virginia to continue to win, to be that team that Duke beats, to then you're ahead of Louisville and ahead of whoever else it is that Virginia beat in the standings, because you want Virginia to win out except for Duke, because then you have the tiebreaker over everybody they've beaten in conference.
Yeah, I think that's the way it works.
I think that is the way it works. But when it gets to
I'm not checking that tiebreaker screen until November.
I don't blame you. But to go off of what we're talking about, I mean, Clemson, Duke has to beat Clemson. UConn at UConn is going to be weird and sneaky. And then Virginia, UNC, and then Wake Forest, too, is probably the best story in the ACC this year, where they have just went from worst to first type of ordeal. If the Georgia Tech call happens, they are in first place, controlling their destiny. And so that's
Virginia would still be in first.
But they'd be in the top three. And so that's a team that you can't look past like I did at the preseason that we did. So is Duke a good team? To be determined. And one way to determine that is beating Clemson at Clemson, whether it's Cade Klubnik or a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's pretty much – that's in a nutshell why I'm going to Clemson this weekend.
I just think Duke is average. I think Duke is average. Right now, if you had to ask me, good or bad, average. They have statistical leaders in great categories, but as a unit, as a whole, they're average, because who they beaten and who they lost to and how they've lost. So that leads me, Connor, to the keys of the game, because it's going to be a short episode since we don't have any recap of a game. What are your keys of the game for Duke to beat Clemson?
It's going to be the biggest cop-out ever, but you got to be able to run the ball. You got to find some way. You got to find some way for your offensive line to neutralize their monsters. Who is it? TJ Parker and Peter Woods are the names that are DTs.
Yeah, sounds right.
Probably both first rounders is what Jonathan Brewer at least told us. You got to find a way to run the ball and not put everything on the shoulders of Darian Mensah in the passing game to move the ball. And you got to score red zone touchdowns. I did the numbers last week. They're a little fuzzy in my head, but I think it was in Duke's 3-game winning streak in those ACC games. I think they had 12 or 13 red zone drives and 10 touchdowns. And then I think 2 field goals. I think it was 12 of 13 scores, 10 touchdowns, 2 field goals. Anytime you're getting your touchdown percentage on red zone drives up into the 70s and 80%, you're doing really well. Against Georgia Tech, they had 5 drives to reach the red zone, and they got 2 touchdowns. And one of those was the Samir Higgins touchdown in the last 2 minutes that was really just kind of like, to borrow one of my phrases, when you make a long putt, but it's for double bogey, that's whipped cream on shit.
I like that. Garbage time.
Yeah. I mean, it's window dressing. It means something, but it doesn't mean much. All due respect to Samir. But yeah. So basically when the game mattered, it was 1 touchdown out of 4 red zone drives. You can't do that against Clemson.
No, you can't do that against Clemson. My keys to the game, I sound like a broken record, but it's the most important part of the game for me. It is third down. Get off the field on damn third down. Duke's 118th in the country in allowing teams to convert on third downs at 44.6%. And turnover margin. You got to win the turnover margin. Duke didn't win the turnover margin against Georgia Tech. The 1 turnover was massive. Georgia Tech didn't turn the ball over. Clemson ranks 106 in the country with -4 turnover margin compared to Duke, who's +5. That's 22nd in the country. So when Duke forces the teams to turn it over, Duke wins. When Duke loses the turnover battle, which they have in all 3 losses, it's losses. It's as simple as that for me. Get off the field on third down. Don't turn it over. If you do, make sure Clemson doubles it. If you turn it over once, they turn it over twice. But one guy that I'm a little worried about on defense is Avion Terrell for Clemson. He's a really good DB, 7 pass deflections, and he leads the team in forced fumbles. A little peanut punch over there. 3 forced fumbles on the season. He's going to be a guy that's probably going to be guarding Cooper Barcade or whoever for Duke, but Duke just can't be loose with the ball where they get a 15 to 20-yard gain on a slant, and here comes Terrell coming with a peanut punch in the open field like what happened to Samir Higgins against Illinois. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. My prediction for this game, I'm going with Clemson. I probably will bet Clemson -3.5 with or without Cade Klubnik because, quite frankly, Connor, I just have to see it from Duke. I have to see it. I don't trust this team against a big-time opponent. I will happily eat shit with whipped cream on it if Duke, not literally, figuratively.
It's not the point of it.
I know, but I'm just bringing that back up to where I have to see it. And I will be hand up. I'll happily say that I'm wrong with this team, that if they do beat Clemson with or without a backup quarterback playing, still a big win for Duke's program, that they can say they've knocked off Clemson at Clemson, just like I talked about last episode when Duke beat 3-9 Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That was iconic for Duke football as a program to go beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Got to beat them. And you can beat a team that has this game circled for the first time in Clemson history of losing to Duke the last time they met. Yeah, that means something to me, to where I'm like, okay, this is a good team that can win out and possibly play in the AC championship game.
Yeah, I think Duke hasn't won at Clemson since 1980.
That was like last year.
What?
I said that's just like last year. That's so not that long ago. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was negative 14 years old.
Yeah, it's a tough place to win, no matter how good or bad Clemson is.
Yeah. So that's all I have for this preview is take care of the damn ball, get off the field on third downs, put 3D out there, Musa Kane, to get a stop on third down, guarding in Shefflin in the goal line fade, who like I said, I will sprinkle anytime touchdown on in Shefflin. I'll find that somewhere on one of these books. Me and Terry Rozier will both look for it.
I guess you're really going to be mad if Musa Kane goes in there and knocks it away. That's a PBU on the goal line against Ian Shefflin.
Yeah, I know. You know what's going to be what I want to, what would be cool to happen is, I guess we should have brought this up, is Todd Polino's in the news, or the Duke Chronicle posted an article about Todd Polino basically blocking out the noise and just focusing on himself and believing in himself. And, that's what I expect for anybody to do that plays college sports. You don't listen to people like me or people that are criticizing you with missing kicks or whatever, your mistakes. You should block that out. So I'm hoping Todd Polino goes in a hostile environment and hits a big kick for Duke. Like, that would be awesome. That would be great. And if he doesn't, then that goes to the point of he doesn't make big kicks in certain important times. So I don't want to be right about that. I want to be wrong. And I hope he hits 40-plus yarder, that is 45-plus yarder. That's massive for Duke and an upset win at Clemson. So shout out Todd for the Duke Chronicle article for calling out people like me, criticizing him on missing important kicks. I know you have nothing. You have nothing.
I don't know how to say anything else after that.
You can't. You cannot. You're the big J. I'm the little J. But we're both credentialed media for Duke at Clemson. So Connor, I'll see you at Clemson.
Sounds good.